balls hanging out.
You know what I mean?
Mommy, just look at this.
I know.
Hey, hang in there.
I know.
Life can turn around
I
here
know.
soon.
I just have a. I can't take it.
I can't take it
I
anymore.
just it's so hard.
My belly. Rub my
Just-
belly.
It's just right there. I'm gonna play dead, but don't act like you don't know what to do.
Let's see if anything happens if I stop.
Look, he put the leg up too. Hello. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, Mr. Sir.
Yeah, I didn't say
Yes,
it. He said it.
I'm
Deal with him.
sorry. Family, take my people's take two. America's Caddy, along with the first family of caddying, at least in my heart. Y'all know we've known each other for so long. This is Paul Tesori, Michelle Tesori, first family of caddy. I'm starting with the boss.
Let's go. Bring it on. Let's go.
Nobody ever gets to talk about the challenges of being caddy wife and what that entails. Everybody always assumes, well, it's just a big party for the caddies out there traveling, having a good time. And, you guys must party all the time too, right? All you moms just sitting at home making $27 million doing nothing.
Yeah, that's us. That's kind of what it looks like. You got it. Nailed it. Yeah, I mean, a couple things. Our husbands work a lot harder than I think people understand. This is not just going out and carrying a bag and going out drinking every night. It's not that at all. As you know, the job is not that. At least not a job you're going to keep.
Correct.
It's not
Correct.
that. And so I think as wives, we've created, the longer I've been out here with Paul on tour, and out here, I mean at home, well, he's out there. And I'm fortunate to be able to go out several times a year. So I've made some really great friends with the Caddy Wives groups and the group, and with some of the trainers and player wives too. That's changed. That whole dynamic has changed over the last several years. We have got the last, I would say, 5 years or so, I have watched that shift of mentality on tour, and it's not just necessarily player wives and caddy wives anymore. In fact, if you say player wives to Dowd, she'll say to you, I don't understand. It's just wives. It's just wives.
Correct.
There's no separation between. We're all out
That's
here.
what a team is.
That's a team. And Dowd's mentality, it reminds me that it's so ingrained in us because some of us just were in that separated state for so long out there that that's just what it was. And I think now everything's changed from the players and their wives and kind of how they approach the game and what that looks like for their families and being away, recognizing it's the same for their caddies away. The commissioner is spectacular, Jay Monahan, and he's recognizing that too. It's tricky. Listen, it's tricky. And one of the hardest things I think that people don't understand, is that in order for you to be able to afford to join your husband on the road, whether you have kids at home and can get someone to sit for them, which is its own challenge, or you don't and you're trying to join your husband, there is an expense associated with that. And unless you are one of the top caddying for one of the top 50 or so players in the world, your husband is out there with no health insurance, so you probably have a job to provide that for your family. And if you don't, whether you do or you do not, you still have to budget going out there. Nobody here is millionaires. Nobody. Not the number one player in the world. Not their caddy. And it just doesn't work that way. And I think the perception is kind of off. So it's challenging. Our husbands love us. We know that. We have an incredibly great group of wives. It's tough. It's tough to be home. You love your kids. You love your spouse. You miss everybody. And you kind of get in a routine, and then you have to adjust your routine when they come home. That's not how we do stuff.
That's what I was gonna say. Probably the biggest challenge is when you're home. Like you're a working mother, so when you're home, you got a routine. Here's the schedule every single day. Then Johnny Monkey Wrench over here comes home and goes, "Hey, here's what we're gonna do," and you go, "What we? No, we. I got this."
That's not how that goes. That's not how we do that.
I just got called Johnny, Monkey Wrench, and Robert in the last. I just want to throw that out there real quick before we do anything. So you guys keep talking. Me and Ryder, we're doing well right now, so thank you.
Yeah, no. Look, see, the dog is doing exactly what you need to do when you come home. Just be quiet and go along with whatever the boss is saying the routine is. See?
It's a rough life. It's a rough life. Rough life.
What is the hardest part? What's the hardest? Because you've been doing it for a long, long time. So what have you seen Other than the dynamic between player, caddy, family, team, what's been the hardest transition for you?
I think the hardest thing is if you're a biblical family, it's keeping a spiritual connection when your spouse is on the road and away for that long. Um, and I would say the second hardest thing is as your kids grow up and start to recognize that daddy's not actually behind the iPad on FaceTime. He's not back there. He's actually not here. And Isaiah is just getting old enough, I think, to know that dad's not home. So Paul will tell me, I'll say, oh my gosh, Isaiah did the cutest thing this morning. He got out of bed and he ran into our room and ran to your side of the bed yelling your name. And he's like, don't tell me that stuff. It's all, it's really hard when your little one starts to know where daddy should be when he's home and he's not there. And that, as a parent, that's tricky.
Yeah, see, that whole awesome thing being out on the road as a caddy sometimes, that heartbreaking part is just that's one where no matter how good the paycheck is, when you're out on the road, you're like, I kind of would be okay being homeless if I could be there for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I just finished my 19th season caddying, and it was so different before kids. It was a lot like people said, not as far as partying. I've never been much on that standpoint, but like as far as, yeah, I slept amazing. I went to see good places. I went to baseball games. I went to football games. I ate good dinners. I stayed at nice places. I didn't miss home. I mean, I would miss my wife, but like she knows what I'm doing out here. She knows I'm providing something for our family and for the community that I couldn't do any other way. And then enter kids, and in particular this little guy, Isaiah, and it was 2017. Weber and I were out in Napa, and I just broke down and started crying, and I couldn't stop. And at that time, I'm sorry, my year off. It was 2016. And I was just like, I have to do something different. I have to fix this. I have to fix this. And I came home and I started asking around. I did. I talked to Todd Anderson out at TPC, who's a world-renowned teacher. I talked to him. I talked to another friend of mine that is a teacher. I talked to another guy who was a GM at the club up at Sawgrass, and I just started asking him questions about what does reality look like for me if I want to get back in the golf business. And reality was is if I wanted to bring home a third of what I currently make, it was going to cost me 60 to 70 to maybe even 80 hours a week to do so. And you start looking down at the quality time you'll have with your family if you do that, and I'll have a lot less quality time with my family doing that than I would on the road. The good point is who I work for, being Webb. He doesn't like to play more than 3 in a row, but there's that one time of the year every year where we just played 8 out of 9, with some huge tournaments obviously in there. Right. A major, the playoffs, Ryder Cup, which is like 2 majors all in one. Really stressful. I was only home 6 days in that 63-day stretch. And it was brutal, and her and I, we struggle and all that, but we do remind ourselves that October, November, December, I'm only going to work 2 more weeks. And how many other jobs can you say, I'm going to be home the whole week of Halloween, be home the whole week of Thanksgiving, I'm going to be home the whole week of Christmas, and then for New Year's, why don't we just fly the whole family to Maui and go have fun there? Yeah, yeah. So as those tears are coming down and as reality sits in, you just have to remind yourself, okay, this is what it is. And you almost have to change your mind to, I'm going to teach my son, from the very beginning, man was created to work. And we have to find a way to do that without putting too much strain on our wives and on our kids. And at the same time, letting them know how much you miss them and need them. But at the same time, also teaching the value of the importance of work and what that looks like. It looks different for our family. I think we go through a little more heartbreak. I don't mean family, just us, the family of caddies, and even I want to say players, but not really. Most of them, the families travel if they want them to. Right. They're able to afford that little extra section. But love my job. Very fortunate to do it. I have been blessed with some amazing players, and the only negative that I find when we go through everything is it's leaving the family.
You said something, we were talking before about the support system at the Ryder Cup between all of the wives, caddy wives and player wives, like all of the wives as a group. What's that like, and how important is that out on the PGA Tour?
I think that change in the last several years to really making it wives and recognizing, I think we recognize, particularly those of us who've done this for quite some time and are veterans out there. That's scary. I told Angie Watson, I think, told me going into the Ryder Cup that we were, she texted me. She's like, we're the veteran wives. I'm like, you stop it right now. Stop
I don't even have gray hair.
What that mean? Stop it. Are you kidding? I have a 4-year-old. I'm like, you and I have 4-year-olds. We are not veterans. Your oldest is 7. Nobody here is a veteran. So
That's a bad word.
Don't do it. But I think even that is exactly how it goes. Angie and I are good friends and communicate regularly on and off the golf course and about golf and not about golf, about life and about Jesus and about our kids and about parenting and about being a great spouse and what that looks like when you're on the road. We have a group of wives, particularly in the caddy space. And I think what started that, sadly, was the death of Lance Bennett's wife. And I think, and we were close. Like she really went out of her way to befriend people on tour and welcome them on tour. And I think when she was gone, there was a group of us that started texting each other. We initially started texting about who's going to the funeral, who's not going, how are we coordinating, who's on what side of town and in the country, and where's everybody playing, where's everybody playing. I think from that grew a group of wives that recognized we are a very select group of women in the world who understand what it's like. And it is different from player wives. Our husbands don't have guaranteed income. They don't have health insurance. Most do not have sponsorships. So your husband is going out, working his can off. He's carrying a 50-pound bag around a golf course, 60, 70 miles in a week. He is exhausted. And then we're expected to have him come home and participate right away, and he's got to recover. There's like these are real things. Nobody understands that except wives who are doing it day in and day out. And
That's the other one.
Kids.
Yeah.
So you can't, people are like, well, just bring Isaiah. Okay, a couple things. I have 5,000 things about that. Let me start with, he lives here. Raising a child in a hotel room is not how Paul and I envision our lives with our children.
I tried that myself.
I recognize that there are times when we travel, and that is great, and we try to make it the best experience possible. Airbnb has made that a little bit more manageable as Isaiah's gotten older. When he was a baby, hotel is fine. But you can only stay inside the Hampton Inn room for so long before your kid's going to rip stuff off the wall. And we have a great kid.
Strong, too. He's tearing stuff all up if he wants to.
He's not afraid. But I think discussions have begun. When Jay Monahan stepped into that position on tour, one of the very first things he did was reach out to Paul and another caddy on tour, Michael Greller, and they sat down, the three of them, and talked about what can the tour do to support our caddies. And Paul and Michael, I don't know, until you have a kid, I don't think you get it. And then they had a child. And I think you go, wait a second, my wife can't come every week anymore? No, because where are you going to put your kid? Can't bring him to the golf course when he's old enough to walk around and go where he wants to go, and you're trying to yank him off the ropes, and you can't put him in a stroller for 4 hours.
What do you mean I can't run right out to daddy whenever I want to?
Yelling his name in the middle of golf swings. So these
dads, we're not very good at that. Come on, buddy. Come on out. Yeah,
we don't see you enough so daddy doesn't say no.
We're in the middle of golf term right now.
I mean, even this year at TPC, and we live here, Isaiah did not come out on Sunday. He didn't come out at all during the week. He, I think, came out for a tiny bit during a practice round, and then to our All-Star Kids Clinic that our foundation runs that week. But he came out on Sunday, and I kept him. I had to sneak him in or call in favors. I thankfully have made lots of friends on every side of the golf world. So there were folks that work at TPC who knew who I was, that I've known for years. There are folks like you that were back there in the media area. And I am not bringing Isaiah to the 18th green until we are in the 18th fairway or in the water. I mean, we were in the water, but it was fine. And I did not bring Isaiah out until then.
At least Isaiah wasn't in the water.
He was not in the water. But that, Angie Watson and I have talked about on a regular basis. When Webb asked Isaiah to caddy this year in the par 3 at the Masters, he is the only player that has ever, to my knowledge, invited their caddy's child to participate in the par 3. It was when Dowd asked. I was like, that's sweet. No, please, you don't have to do that. And she's like, no, I'm serious. When we got to Paul and I are like, I don't think they're kidding. We knew we were playing with Bubba and Angie, and Angie and Bubba have a Spitfire about the same age as Isaiah. And Angie and I talked about who was going to be responsible for chasing these two. Who's chasing Dakota and who's chasing Isaiah into the ponds at Augusta, and they're never going to let us back. They're never going to let us back there.
That is the one place where you don't ask forgiveness.
No, you can't go into the water, and Isaiah does not care. And I know Dakota doesn't care. So
That's
those
probably
are
why they won't let me have a jumpsuit either.
That's probably true. That's probably true. So those are all real things, and I think there is a misconception that this is some glamorous life. Here's what it is. It is incredibly fulfilling financially for those players and caddies who are at the top of their game when they are. That can change at any time. Golf is a funny, funny game, and it can change at any time. It is harder, of course, when it's a financial struggle, because then you have to play more golf, which means dad's gone more. Or female spouse, Fanny, we love her. Shout out, Fanny, we love you. But I don't think there are any wives out there anymore. Maybe one or two still on the bag. No. I know we sent Adam Shank's fiance sometimes caddies, and Courtney's a riot, and she used to caddy for him on the web, and I think she's done maybe one PGA Tour event. But there are some wives that are out there, and I know Patrick Reed's wife was out there for a bit. So for the most part, it's men that are out there on tour, and when daddy or husband is gone that often, there are some real challenges to that are hard for other people to understand. It's the same for you, though. You're gone from your wife. You're gone from your boys. Your wife has a business at home. Your boys are growing up. They're busy. Major's 11. He's got stuff going on, and daddy's missing that stuff. And Bray's, as they get older, I think it becomes harder, and your wife recognizes that it's different. You can only explain it away. But you measure, just like Paul said, you measure the pros and cons. And when he is home for 3 months during the winter, we get to do stuff as a family that we couldn't otherwise do. But you can't just grab your kid and go out on the road for 2 or 3 weeks. He has no place to go during the day. Your children have no place to go out there. And that makes those decisions more challenging, particularly as your kids get a little bit older.
And it is tough. I think it's easier for the kids as they get older and harder for us, because we're the ones that realize what we're missing. And they kind of go, okay, this is just how life is. But we are old enough to look back in hindsight and kind of be like, I can't believe that I'm missing out on this. But then seeing both sides of it is fantastic too. Your wife, she brought the commissioner up too. This commissioner is much different than the last commissioner in the way that he looks at caddies and the relationship, not only between caddies and players, but caddies and the tour.
Yeah. When we learned that Jay, being Commissioner Monahan, Jay Monahan was taking over that position, everybody was excited, not just caddies. Caddies, coaches, players, media.
Media
I mean, and the deal is not just because it has nothing to do, at least it didn't have at that time, the fact that he was going to be the commissioner of our tour. It was the fact that every place he had been, he had left a ripple effect of people that spoke about his integrity and about how much he cares about. It's the little guy. No matter how you look at it, we are the little guy. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I don't do much. That's why my guy makes what he makes, and I make what I make. No, I don't. I make 7%. That's about what I deserve. That's what my responsibility is, and we are the little guy. But
ESPN, if y'all want to give me 7%, I'm just a little dude.
Good luck with that, by the way.
You know, more food for me, kind. What?
He can even grow some hair up here. Man.
I'll buy an afro if you give me 7% of what we make.
Forever. But Jay, when he took over, he very quickly earned that reputation. The very first week he took over, he was over at Sony, and he came out to say hello to our group, Webb, me, and the Pro-Am guys. And after he left, by foot, not in a cart, by foot, he walked out. The Pro-Am guy said, "This is my 25th Pro-Am on the PGA Tour." And I'm like, "Dang, can I have some money?" No, okay. No, but I was like, really? He goes, "It's the first time I've ever met the commissioner of the PGA Tour." And it was his first week on the job, and he came up and introduced who he was. And there's a lot of problems that we had with the old commissioner. I'm not going to go into a lot of those details. I personally had a lot of issues as well, and I was a player for a little bit on the PGA Tour and still had issues there. It's just that Jay Monahan is a perfect fit for what we need, for what this tour is all about. And we cannot be more thankful that he's the man in charge. And what he's already done for our foundation, what he did for me personally at the Players, we finished on 18, and we got done and gave Michelle and Isaiah and my daughter Alexis a kiss, and we walk off, and of course everybody's there. But my first thing is, let's go sign a correct scorecard. That's all I can think about. Is let's go sign a correct scorecard.
Caddy mentality, bro.
Mentality. Yeah. So like everybody's.
We still not done yet.
Hey, and I'm like, no, okay, great. I'm going this way. So I come out. So I think I'm going to give Michelle a quick kiss, and then just go over and make sure Webb's taken care of. And I'm doing that for about 5 minutes, and then I get a tap on my shoulder, and it's the head of PGA Tour. I think maybe your relations. You might know. It's is it Chris Reimer?
Yeah.
Reimer, and he's like, Paul, we have some seating set up for you guys up front. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay. I'll try to find Michelle and Isaiah. He's like, we already got them up there. I'm like, okay. So I go up there. I'm working my way up there for the awards ceremony, and there's 3 rows, and the front row originally was Commissioner Beeman, Commissioner Fincham, and some of the other dignitaries. And then there's a row in front, and it's Dowd, Paul, Michelle, Isaiah, my big sister, and my little sister. They brought chairs up there for the award ceremony at the end per the commissioner of the PGA Tour. Wow. And to sit up there and allow my family to experience something like that, I'll never forget it for the rest of my life, because they got to sit with me, because they've been a part of everything that we go through. She's been there during the really bad times. She's been there in the good times. She's been there in the tears missing the family. She's been there through anger on doing a bad job or whatever it was, and to have them sit up there, and then my big and little sister being able to sit up there, they're very, very introverted, so it was a lot for them, but they definitely liked it. And it's those little things. And then, I have a letter stuck up on my wall, which we'll have to get a picture of beforehand. But I'm invited at some point, obviously between this year and next year, for my entire family to go have dinner with the commissioner at TPC, obviously on their dime. So 2001 insignia, commission, if you end up seeing this. Just kidding. 2002 is okay. Anyway. Anyhow, but things like that don't happen. And then to go all the way through that with our foundation, for some reason the Players haven't ever backed our foundation, which has been a weird thing until the commissioner found out that we weren't getting backed and made a phone call or two, and voila, there you go. Now we are gonna. What's the grant for, baby?
So the grant for us for this, it'll come for next year, and then he insisted that it was backdated for this year since it was missed. He's so unique. Wow. Is for the All-Star Kids Clinic, which is one of our foundation events. I say favorite when I say everyone. It's Paul's favorite. The All-Star Kids Clinic is a golf clinic for kids with special needs, and Paul always co-hosts it with one of our tour friends. It's been lots of folks, but here in town, it's Jordan Spieth every single year. And it's super near and dear to our hearts. And Jordan has a sister, Ellie, that we adore. I love you. I love you, Ellie. And Ellie has special needs. And so he recognizes and understands and knows. He just went to the World Special Olympics Games with Ellie. And Jordan gets it. And his parents are spectacular in what his mom, Chris, has done. And she's a mentor to me. I reach out to Chris when we're talking about, like, you hear me, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about, I am a Caddies wife.
Right.
Who has a fantastic relationship with Jordan Spieth's mom about parenting. It's just not what it used to be anymore.
Yeah.
And she is spectacular. So we do the clinic, and Jordan helps here, and Webb did we added Charlotte as a city this year. We wanted to do it in cities that were special to us. So it was actually Mark Brazel's idea. So Brazel is the tournament director at the Wyndham Championship. For those of you who don't know, Mark is fantastic. And Mark's been there for a long, long time. When Isaiah was born, Mark came to Quail Hollow that May. and he asked to meet Isaiah. So we came into the caddy area because, again, I couldn't take him out on the course. He had nowhere to go. So he was with me in the caddy area, and Mark came in, and he met Isaiah, and he said, we've always, what would you guys think if we did a clinic for kids, maybe kids with Down syndrome or something at Wyndham? We've always wanted to do something like that. And I'm like, are you kidding? And he and I sat there for 10 or 15 minutes, talked about it, and he wasn't kidding because he followed up with me, and we started the All-Star Kids Clinic that August at the Wyndham Championship. And through our partnership with Wyndham, we're able to bring in 25 to 30 kids every single year. And we've had several players, and that one's kind of a rotating group because what's really fun is players have learned about it, and they want to come, players and caddies.
I get in trouble when I don't ask caddy. I got in trouble with Jimmy Roberts this past year. I had at least 7 other caddies come up to me and go, why didn't we get an invite? Have we done something to offend you or something? Like, no, I don't think anybody has time or would want to come do it. And I have had 2 other players come up and say, why haven't I been? I'm like, okay, I want everybody to come, but I don't know.
All-Star Kids Clinic, Wednesday of TPC, Tuesday of Wyndham, Tuesday of Quail Hollow, and bring all your people. Everybody's welcome. It's a welcome environment. Everybody can come.
For people who don't know about the Tesori Family Foundation, Isaiah has Down syndrome, and let me tell you something. This little boy, he got more supermodel credentials than a lot of supermodels.
Agreed.
I'm saying, I don't know a lot of people whose face has been at Times Square put up in the middle of New York City. That's for real, for real. But I want you to go back to the beginning of the Tesori Family Foundation and how that got started.
Yeah, so Michelle and I started dating in 2008, baby, is that correct? And after about a year, she was already in the sports world and had just started looking at doing a business with foundations, whether it was going to be professional athletes, whether it was going to be people, of high net worth that could really make a difference, whatever it was, she wanted to start diving into that. And I was like, I've always wanted to do that. And she's like, well, we should. I was like, yeah, but we don't really have the ability to do it now. I don't want to do it till we could do it all out. How many times have we all said that?
Right.
And she's like, no, you start with one. Let's just start one. And if we can help one kid through our foundation, let's start with one. And the starfish story. And you can already tell we're about to turn this back over to her because she's prettier and smarter. And so we're going to let her go. If you want to talk about golf, I'll start chit-chatting with you. But so we started it. And at first for me, it took a little while for me to really feel like it was my baby. Meaning that when I mean obviously but I mean my baby, it didn't feel to me, it felt to me like it was just an effort. I've never minded giving my money away. I hate giving my time away. And she knows that. And so I then should be looking for areas to give my time away. If the money doesn't mean anything, do you want some? So, no, but.
Has anyone ever heard me say no to money? Ever.
So as things started to move on, we used to do things I played golf at University of Florida, and we would go once a week to visit the senior center there and just spend an hour there.
Yeah.
I would play Yahtzee or bingo. Yahtzee was the one with this lady named Eileen, and we would go every week, and I really enjoyed it. I said, one day I want to be able to do that and help because we're all probably going to end up there one day, and it's kind of sad, to be honest with you, because there's nothing wrong with these men and women. They're at that point where, sadly, their minds have started to go, their bodies have started to go, and maybe the kids don't live. Anyway. Well, then,
but it also means more to an actual person. It means more than getting a check or money. If someone who doesn't necessarily know them is willing to sit and spend time with them, that means so much more than any amount of money you could give to someone in that situation.
I agree, and I think part of that comes down to the fact I think we all kind of forget sometimes that we could very easily be in the same situation of these people that we're helping, whether that's kids with special needs, whether that is a senior center, whether that is a center for a homeless coalition, where you've got men, women, you've got children that are homeless, or whether or not you've got maybe even going to some correctional facilities. Whatever that is, we're not very far away from being in one of those situations or at least knowing someone deeply that's in those situations. So When Isaiah was born in 2014 with Down syndrome, obviously very quickly we were given a direction for the foundation, and that is, if you look back now, where the foundation really started taking off was then. And I'm going to share my part of the story of when, for me, I truly realized that we have a family on the PGA Tour. I'd always heard that whole family, yeah, whatever. Yeah, you players might have a family, and maybe us caddies or whatever. But
our part of the family lives outside in the doghouse.
Yes, exactly.
Your part, that's Scott Van Pelt, outside dogs.
Outside dogs, that's it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
You know, and I used to feel that way. But in 2014, when Isaiah was born, there was a lot of complications. They ended up, a lot of them being false complications. They didn't know he had Down syndrome. They didn't know he was, he was not a prenatal diagnosis. Is that right, baby? Okay. So we didn't really know what the story was, but obviously I couldn't go to work those 2 weeks. And the first one was out in Maui. And we were going through these struggles at home. We didn't know if he was going to live. We didn't know if he was going to spend months, even a year in the NICU. We had no idea. And Weber called me and was like, Paul, I've never seen anything like this. I was like, what? He's like, every single player, every single caddy asks me every day, Paul, I'm having to play in 10 or 15 minutes every morning, and I'm getting emotional to talk about it because I can't get my work done because everybody wants to know an update. It's like, you got to be kidding me. And then I turn on, obviously, TV, and Kevin Streelman has written Isaiah's initials, IT, on the back of his hat. I still have that upstairs. Teddy Scott, who was caddying for Weber that week, did the same thing on his hat. Zach Johnson won the golf tournament. He's on the edge of the green, and he's just won. And they said, hey, so tell us about the round. He goes, before I do, I just want to let everybody know my hearts and prayers go out to the Tesori family. I still have every single one of those interviews still on our TV because I go back and I got to remind myself. And then I didn't go back to work until Riviera, which was later that year. And the first person I saw, I was out walking the course by myself, and it was Bubba Watson. And I was walking up the 18th hole, and him and Teddy were on number 3 or 4. They crisscross. 1 to 3. Yep. And Bubba's on 3 green. I'm walking up 18. And I hear, Paul. And I turn around. Bubba goes running through the bunker. Now, of course, he gets through the bunker. Turns out, Teddy, you get that. Just to be funny in his own right. But, for those of you that don't know Bubba, I know that, he's probably deserves some of the things he's gotten, but that boy has an enormous heart. And he gave me a huge hug. He said, I want to let you know that me and Webb have talked. We're going to start a trust for Isaiah. And we've both put $10,000 in it apiece that you guys can use throughout his lifetime and all this stuff. And it was just, and every person I saw the same way. Texts, phone calls. I still have them on my phone. I haven't deleted them. Sometimes it's the only time I've ever heard from them because they really don't care that much about me. They love my wife and my now son so much that, I get credited that a little bit. It's almost like the gospel. I get credited that for her beauty and brilliance, and my son's just handsome love. I get credited that sometimes, and that's okay. I'll take that. And so for me, it was the first time I realized it was a family, and Tesori Family Foundation in my mind was truly born that day. And now it's grown to, I think we're going to go over $1 million in gifts and cash services this year, right, baby? It looks like we are, yeah. Which for a little caddy get-together has been amazing. And I now get way more out of it than the people that we help, no doubt.
I want to know from your side, what are you most proud of when it comes to the foundation and what it's now become, and knowing how much it means to all these other people?
That we're teaching our kids that loving other people is the single most important thing. And they know. Both of our kids, they know. And the families that we help are so thankful. And it doesn't have to be 3,000 families or 5,000 families or 10,000 families. I will never forget. So I do run charitable foundations for a living. I've been in the sports field about 20. I've been in a long time.
Good catch, baby.
Veteran.
I've been doing it a while. Don't let our 4-year-old aged son fool you. I am older than you think. And I will never forget Mike Peterson, who played for the Jags at the time, went to Atlanta. He is from the Gainesville area, and he's an Alachua. He's an Alachua boy. Mike and Chantal are spectacular. Mike was a client at the time, and they were good friends of ours. and became good friends of ours through their foundation. And I remember the very first meeting I had at Mike's house with Mike and Chantal, and we sat down and they were introduced to me, and the first question I asked was, listen, I get that everybody wants to talk about all this other stuff. Mike, I just want to know, like, tell me what you want to do. Like, give it to me in whatever vernacular works for you. Just it doesn't have to be tied up with a bow. What do you want to do? And he said, I think what I've been doing is not impactful enough. And Michelle, the problem is what I've been doing is this reading program in Jacksonville in Duval County, and I think it reaches 3,500 kids. I've not met a single one of those kids. Like, not one-on-one. I don't have relationships with those kids. I don't have numbers and statistics. I don't know what's happening. From that day, we created something called the Top Dog Readers Club program. We partnered with a school in inner city Atlanta when he moved to Atlanta, and the Falcons were incredibly supportive. And we created a reading program that was tied in with an existing reading program at that school, and statistically measurable every single month. The kids were tested on the books they were reading. There were awards for the kids that passed the test for the greatest number of books. We sent the winner every month from every classroom to the Falcons games. Mike knew those kids. I will never forget this, one of the little girls at that school, her dad had already died in a gang-related incident years before that. I think she was 10. And we had just been to school. And the principal, who became a dear friend of ours, came up to us before we left, and she said, her mom died this morning. She doesn't know. So, make today really special for her. Mike and Chantal spent that day with her, and I am not kidding you when I tell you we spent months with Mike and Chantal trying to adopt her. Knew her story. That I learned that day, that is what we have done really well with the foundation. We have to pump the brakes a lot because I want to help everyone.
No.
She does.
I want to help everyone. And so we established, when we established the foundation, we established a board. And Paul and I prayed about what we really wanted from the board. And we wanted them to hold us accountable, first and foremost, to Jesus. And secondly, to what the mission of the foundation was, which was through Jesus. And it was so simple for me and for Paul. Lend a helping hand, provide hope, heal hearts. And we knew that from day one. That's been our mission statement since 2009 when we initially filed the paperwork. It has changed, tweaked a tiny bit because I had one of the words wrong. The initial mission statement said, for God. And I actually did a blog post. I remember talking to Dowd one day, and we were doing like a Bible study reading thing together. And at some point during that conversation with her, I'm like, God doesn't need anything from us. We're not doing, he's not waiting for me to do
It's not one of the text messages you got. It's not. Jesus did not text you.
No, he did not say waiting for you. What you got for me? He's good. He's good. He created the world with one breath.
He's all right.
He's good.
Yeah.
And so that's the only change to our mission statement. That was after Isaiah was born. I kind of had a moment one day, and I was with Dowd, and we were talking, and I'm like, that. The next thing we're going to tackle is the word special needs. Dowd's got it. She's got it all figured out. There is a really cool video going around the internet, and has been for years, and it's some adults with Down syndrome. It's the greatest video talking about.
Not watch it. So she tells
Oh,
you
I
which
do think
one
there
it
might
is.
be one or two curse words in there, and I'll get you the link. You can post it below. It'll be posted below this video.
Children under the age of 11 that have never seen
Sorry,
movies
Major.
outside of PG. No, Major's actually heard seen some.
I'm shocked. That shocks me. I
He was in the
cannot
NFL
imagine.
locker room, so yeah, he's good.
He's good.
He's all right. Sorry, bad parent. Sorry.
And the video was adults with Down syndrome saying special needs. So having a special need would be having a dinosaur wake you up in the morning. That would be special.
You know what
Here's
my
my
special
favorite
would
part.
be? Especially I need some help.
Okay.
There's a dinosaur in my house.
That's the video. My favorite part was it would be special if you got a massage from a cat every day. And they actually literally have a cat needing. And I watched that video and I will never forget. Dowd and I walked around Hilton Head this year and I talked about the fact that I'm really uncomfortable with the term special needs, because truthfully, every single one of us has something that is unique and special about us that requires different needs in order for it to be fulfilled. And just because Isaiah's comes in the form of a diagnosis called Down syndrome, and the rest of us have it in some form, and you may be able to put a name or a number or a diagnosis on it, or you may not. But there is not a single person in this world that does not have at least one unique need that other people may or may not have. And Dowd and I talked about it, and I'm going to have to look up what we came up with. It's in my notes in my phone. It was like 6 words. I'm like, we're going to need to shorten this a little.
Yeah, that's too long.
We talked about it and we identified together. Dowd is so insightful with this stuff. And we talked about it doesn't just have to be kids who have a physical delay or an intellectual delay. What about kids with an emotional challenge? So there are kids that we serve at the All-Star Kids Clinic that do not have a specific diagnosis particularly, and it may just be that they have some sensory issues. They're not comfortable with some sensory things, or they may not communicate as well with others. We certainly have kids who have autism that are there, and those families have a diagnosis. But that would be kind of the next thing. And so out of the foundation, back to your question, which was, what are you most proud of? I am most proud that our children, that God gave them the capacity to love. I know why we have Isaiah. It's one of those funny things where you are trying to decide what your purpose in life is. I think we all spend, whether you believe in God or don't, I do believe that all of us are trying to decide, and if you're a believer, you're trying to decide, what did God put me here for? Like, what am I? And if you're not thinking, it probably should. You probably should think about it, because you're not just here for yourself. You're here to serve others.
Or you're trying to figure out why you're here.
Why are you here? And what is it? And what is it? Is there a thing? Is it multiple things? When Isaiah was born, one of the things that became intimately clear to me was that we needed that kid to teach us about what love looks like. What love looks like. My kid, I don't know, we got a kid that loves everyone, everything, all the time.
He still don't like being told no.
That's true. He doesn't like that.
Tell you something.
Get that out right now.
I want to tell you something. I'm 48 years old. Tell me no and see what happens. See if you don't get a stink face.
I just want everybody to, yes, he loves well. I just had to jump in real quick. He is not perfect. He still does not like being told no. That's all. All right, now Mama, take back over.
That is true. I actually on my time feed this morning came a video, and it's one of the first times I ever had to spank Isaiah. And I think that video I also have. I don't think I was videoing when I spanked him, but right before I did, because Paul was on
That'd be
the
a little
road.
weird.
Right. Paul was on the road, and I had told him repeatedly not to touch the light sockets in his room. Repeatedly. And he did not care.
We don't hear no.
You know how it is, too, when don't touch.
I kept saying, yes. So that's
And not just do it, but look at you belligerent.
So now let's teach Michelle something. Okay, so this is Golf Psychology 101 by Dr. Bob Rotello. I don't know why I just air quoted. Sorry, Doc. I don't know why I air quoted you there, but I'm quoting the next line. You never say don't. If you step up on 18 at TPC and you say don't hit it in the water, what does your mind hear? Hit it in the water. What do you usually do? Me, I hit it right of the mounds, right. I hit it the other side, which VJ used to think was funny. Every time he would bring up I was going to hit it in the water, I would hit it 75 yards on the other side of the water. He goes, you're so stubborn that you won't not only not hit it in the water, you're going to hit it out of play the other side to make sure
that works in reverse psychology, though. I have had that moment.
So
as a caddy too.
Well, let's hear it. No, I
as
want
a
your
caddy,
story now.
when you
I
say
got too many stories.
When you say as a caddy, whatever you do not fire at this flag.
Yeah. Fire at this flag.
It's not there for any reason. Do not worry about the flag.
Do not
Don't
fire
worry about the
at this flag.
Doesn't even have a
You
purpose.
already know what's happening.
Exactly. One of mine and Webb's favorite stories. But I think as people and even as kids, you don't touch that light socket. I just heard you say touch that light socket. Bonk.
Over and
Don't-
over again.
Do not eat that banana bread. Okay.
Cookie.
That's not a child's story now. Now when we're talking about banana bread, we're talking about adults. so so this video came up this morning, and it is October is Down Syndrome Awareness Month, and a lot of our really great friends post some super intellectually amazing things about Down syndrome. The most significant I saw yesterday from Nancy Tillman's daughter. She's Nancy Tillman, one of the best children's authors in the entire world, and Nancy has a granddaughter with Down syndrome, and her daughter posted something about those that came before us and who paved the way so that we can do what we're doing now with our kids. Just spectacular post. I'll post it. I'll give it to you. It was amazing. I asked her if I could steal it last night. She said, of course. Like, I'm too tired to come up with my own post every day, so I'm just going to need you. So I have not yet posted about Down Syndrome Awareness Month, and our foundation has, and Jenna's amazing. Thank you, Jenna. We love you. And she's been posting facts, and this morning it popped up in my feed, and it's Isaiah. And we're in his room, and the dog is behind us, and you can hear him doing his thing, shaking his head, and you can hear his collar. Paul noticed that this morning. We missed that dog, too. And sorry, Ryder. We love Hitch. Earmuffs.
You should see how offended he looks, too.
It's a rough life. So I know what had happened leading up to that was I had warned him multiple times, and Paul and I had had in-depth conversations about whether or not we thought Isaiah understood, because he wasn't verbally able to tell us. He understood that he was being told what he could and could not do.
Right.
We had just gotten to a place where, as a parenting couple, we had agreed that now spanking him was a great solution. It didn't work very long, because then he started to hit himself or us. Like, oh, that's how we do that? And he would just slap us in the hand. And I'm like, oh, well, that
You know, since mommy and daddy not perfect, Isaiah need to teach y'all a little lesson, too.
Exactly.
He counted backwards a timeout for Ryder the other day. 3, 2, 1, place. No place. And I said to Paul, our kid just counted backwards to a timeout for our dog. So he's playing with the light socket. I warn him no, and it's one of the first times I've ever spanked him, ever. And I popped him on his hand hard. Our child does not have very much sensitivity to pain. It's spectacular. Cut off the top of his finger. He didn't really care. Really great parenting moment for me. And he got mad. And Isaiah doesn't get really mad very often.
Yeah.
And you could see it. He was about a year and a half old, and he got mad, and he's fussing at me. And at the time, he wasn't walking consistently, so he got around bear crawling, like legs straight, hands down, like the fitness bear crawl you do not want to do. And our kid takes off down the hallway, and I am videotaping him, and I'm like, you are really mad at mommy, and he's mad, and he is like, toddler growling at me. He takes off down the end of this hallway right here. I am laughing really loud on the video. He goes around the corner. I can't see him anymore. And he passes, we'd been playing with like bubble stuff. So he passes all the bubble things he'd been popping before that. He goes around the corner, he's gone. He's at the laundry room, and I yell, okay, bye-bye, Isaiah. And about 1 second later, bye. He waves. He's in the middle of being absolutely furious at me. And he comes right back around the corner, and he waves. That is what God gave us, that child who has taught us more about forgiveness, about love, about grace, about acceptance, about people, about John 9:13, and Paul can go into that. It's spectacular. That is what we've gotten from Isaiah, and we've been able to take that and give it to others here and expand it to other PGA Tour communities. So we get to do that in our daily lives. I wrote in the post this morning that I get that it's Down Syndrome Awareness Month, and it is so important, and we are huge advocates. But we get to celebrate that kid and what he brings to our lives every single day. I recognize we need to. We have people at the door. So we recognize, and I'm like, well, people much smarter than me are posting much more significant things, and that's great, and I love them and for doing it. So I'll just steal those people's stuff. And for us, it's recognizing that those simple little moments are exactly who our child has always been from the minute he was born. He did not cry when he was born. I asked. That's kind of how we knew something was going on. You read all these books.
Right.
And I yelled over at some point, like, what's his APGAR? So, like, 10 is perfect. 1 is, this is not good. And the nurse yelled back 8 or 9, and I'm like, but he's not. I feel like in the books, they cry, right? Don't
They're
kids cry?
to.
He is smiling. I will show you a birth photo before you leave. He's smiling while he's laying on the table being weighed, smiling at birth. That is who God gave us in that child. And that means there was a huge hole in my heart I did not know needed to be filled. And that is what Isaiah has brought to us. I think to the folks on tour, that really cool kid has expanded every relationship we had on tour and introduced brand new ones. Jimmy Roberts and what he is doing for Valentino Dixon and all of that stuff. None of that happens unless Isaiah's born and people are engaged and interested in his story. And I think for Paul, the significance of the change, he worked for VJ for a long time, and that relationship with that player and how that affects your relationship with other people on tour is very, very different than working with Webb Simpson and what that relationship looks like with people on tour. But I think if you ask Paul, and I think I've heard him say this before, it's the birth of Isaiah that ultimately made him realize not only the love he just described, but that he is respected out there, that people genuinely care about him, even though those years with VJ were different. And that includes Tiger. We talked about it with Tiger at the Ryder Cup this year, the Tiger Who Hat. Tiger thinks telling the Tiger Who Hat story is the single greatest. He told it on the bus. Phil is dancing down the aisles of the bus. Paul has that video. It's fantastic. Phil and Amy, we love you. And I told him he could not post that video. So you're welcome. That is safe, I think.
You better hope I don't ever find out how to hack phones.
Yeah. So Tiger and Erica are sitting in front of us on the bus. And the entire ride to the airport from the hotel, heading to the Atlanta airport to take the charter flight over to Paris, Tiger is telling the Tiger Who Hat story.
Tiger's telling it.
Tiger's
now, for people who don't know, her husband lovingly wore a hat that said Tiger Who when he was caddying for
VJ Singh.
And it didn't work out as well as expected because they were playing against Tiger in the...
Well, and they were, I don't know I can't remember which event it was, but I can tell you it mustered over for years. And Tiger will tell you. And they remember specific, so Paul's back. Now we have to ask him which event it was. He'll know, and I'm embarrassed I don't, because I've now heard this story. And I have to tell you, I've probably only heard the story once from Paul. I've probably heard it. I heard it from Tiger in a rain delay at Greenbrier. Every time we are with Tiger, he asks about two of the same things. He asks Paul about working out stuff, and he wants to know, he doesn't understand that I don't spend 20 hours a week at the gym, and he just wants to know where my...
But he thinks so, though.
So, fitness for him is spectacular and crazy. And I adore Erica, and she's great, so she and I will spend some time together. His favorite thing to talk about is the Tiger Who hat. And what's really cool about that is because he was so offended by it then, and now the relationship that he and Paul have, and it is fantastic. Paul won a bet. I think he won some money from Webb the first tournament back that Tiger played this year. And he bet Webb that Tiger was going to address him with a particularly non-child-friendly greeting. And
a loving brotherly.
Brotherhood.
Yes, loving brotherly, probably rated R saying.
Rated R.
We all get that from a guy who, if we love him, if he loves you.
He loves you. And that's the difference, right? So when you start looking at those things, so it's those guys, those relationships that he's learned are genuine. So, hey, babe, so you got to tell the Tiger Who story now, because I just told them Tiger was retelling.
Well, let's tell the Paul Who story, because I left and nobody knew.
Somebody took your seat.
Ryder
answered two questions already. He was cool and good to go. Okay, so I was trying to let your lovely wife tell the Tiger Who had happened at which event?
President's Cup year 2000, my third event caddying in my career.
Third ever. So you think to yourself, I got Tiger Woods. I'm going to show him what's up because I'm caddying for VJ Singh, and we about to take it to Tiger Woods. Tiger Who? How'd that work out?
So I have to stop you because that's not what happened.
Okay, so here we go.
So let's tell the real
Truth in media. Here we go.
So I'm working for VJ. It's my third event. I'm obviously on the international side, working for VJ. First match, we get paired. It's VJ and Ernie against Tiger and Nota Begay. Second match, VJ and Ernie against Tiger and Nota Begay. Third match, VJ and Retief Goosen against Tiger and Nota Begay. Fourth match, VJ and Retief against Tiger and Nota Begay. Who do we draw in singles? Tiger Woods.
Of course.
Okay. So the U.S. only needed 1.5 points to win the cup in singles. So
Not going well for
Not
the
going well,
international side.
So it's over, and we've lost 3 of the 4 matches, basically to Noda. And Tiger he agrees with this story when I tell it because he loves me tell it. Every year he's made me tell the story. This past year he made me tell it to the Captain Furyk, on the bus. You were right there. He made me tell Furyk the story. Well, yes. He's like, Paul, tell Jim the story. So I show up on Sunday, and the ball boys, who the guys giving out the balls for all the players for the week, had these 12 hats made up for the President's Cup team, beautifully embroidered. It said Tiger Who on the back. 23 of the 24 players had signed their flag. Tiger hadn't. So they thought it'd be funny. So I saw it. I was like, oh, this is hilarious. So I go up to VJ. I said, VJ, take a look at this. And he laughed. He's like, oh, that's awesome.
For VJ.
Yeah, he thought it was funny.
That's what I'm saying.
And
yes.
I think it's because by the time the last day came, we knew that the international team had no chance of winning.
Right.
For 4 straight days now, Tiger had won 3 majors that year. VJ had won the other one. And so for me, it was funny. And so we're 1 up through 3. We go to the 4th hole in Virginia at the Robert Trent Jones course. It's a par 3. Tiger had hit it, I think, in the water. He had chipped it. Tiger had about 18 feet for bogey. VJ had 7 feet for birdie. So VJ says, Tiger, that's good. Tiger picked it up. We don't hear anything. We got 7 feet for birdie. We just gave you 18 feet for bogey. VJ puts it down to, when I say it's a millimeter, it's one of those, if you sit there long enough, it's going to fall in.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a millimeter. And VJ said, did he say anything? I said, I don't know. And I looked over on the side, and his arms are crossed.
Really?
He's got this look on his face like this.
He's got the Tiger look from back in the day.
Back in the day.
Yes,
Okay.
he's got the back in the day
That was
Tiger
it.
look.
And so VJ said, I think he saw your hat, and I don't think he likes it. So VJ taps in from a millimeter, and we get to the next hole. And
So
Tiger,
now, what you're wearing the hat though
I'm wearing a hat.
during the round.
Oh yes, I wore it on the first 4 holes. So we get to the 5th hole, and we're now 2 up through 4. And Tiger, who has played terrible all week. I mean, when I mean terrible golf. It was.
He admits this as well.
Oh yeah, Tiger admits it. It was and Noda Begay at the time he had won 4 times in 13 months. Noda was one of the best 3 players in the world probably at the time. And we get on the next hole, and I'll never forget. Tiger turned about 25 more degrees. This mid-height 305-yard bomb draw came out, and he played the next 13 holes 7 under and beat us 2-1. Obviously, I took the hat off about 2 holes later. I had the other one in the bag because I realized what was going on.
So when y'all went all square,
well, I mean, I took it off. We were still 1 up when I took it off, but it was things were getting awkward now. There was no, so I knew. Well, then we get done, and I get it.
hold on, this is the best part. Things are getting awkward now.
Yeah. So we get done, and we are now on I think it's the 15th hole. I haven't been there in a while. It's par 5, dog leg left, and the Americans, they clinch the cup. And so VJ says, Tiger, good playing. Tiger said, thanks, whatever else. And Tiger looks back at VJ, which I don't include this part of the story. Remember, he goes, we're not done. We're playing this out. So, which I forgot. Tiger would love that part of the story. I need to start including that one as well. So anyway, so we get beat 2-1.
But that's also Tiger going.
Yes,
Oh,
it is.
absolutely.
So we play 7 under the last 13. We get beat 2-1, me and Vij. And I get done, and I get attacked by media. I've now realized what had happened. Now, again, when this was going on, there was no disrespect. There was no ill.
How many events did you caddy?
3. That was my 3rd. So,
Which means this one right here, not a veteran at the time, is thinking to himself, hey, this will be funny.
exactly.
Just all the guys will get a kick out of this.
The next day, it's in USA Today, it's in the New York Times and Washington Post, and I can't call the Trump and say fake news to anybody. 'Cause I'm not important enough to bring that out. So we don't talk about it for over 12 years. I apologized. We got paired together the next 5 weeks in a row.
Of course you
So
did.
we're in Spain, and already me and Steve Williams don't get along. And now Tiger's not talking. They are not speaking. When I mean not speaking, they're not shaking hands. They're not speaking. So I can't handle this, as you can tell. I talk a lot. So I go to Tiger before the last round in Valderrama for the World Golf Championship event in 2000. And I say, hey, I got to get this out. This is way awkward. I didn't mean any disrespect. And he said, thank you. That meant a lot. He goes, it did make me want to kick y'all's bleep again, though. I said, okay. So we don't say another word about it for 12 years.
Because Tiger never holds a grudge.
12 or 13 years later, I'm working for Weber, and Webb will remember where we were. We're on a putting green. I thought Doral, but I think Webb said it wasn't. Webb's younger and smarter and remembers things better than I do. So Tiger's walking by. I said, what's up, Tiger who? said, "What?" He said, "What's up, 2-1?" And he kept walking. Literally,
That's
not
awesome.
a split second had passed. He said, "I said, what's up, Tiger Who?" He goes, "What's up, 2-1?" And he's walking, and he takes 3 more steps, and he looks back at me with that big poop
Bleep
eating
eating.
grin on his face. Yeah, I mean, from here to here with a big smile on his face, and it's become because all these team events and. I worked for O'Hare, and we used to play practice rounds with him a lot. So, any of that kind of sharpness had disappeared, and ended up disappearing with him and Veej, too. When Veej, his time had kind of passed, and, the older you get, their relationship was a lot better, too. But it has now turned into one of Tiger's favorite stories and now one of mine. And I still have the hat signed somewhere up there by VJ,
Come on.
by VJ and Tiger.
That's a valuable hat.
That hat would be worth a lot.
Yeah.
As would
sure.
the video of Phil Mickelson dancing on the bus.
Yes, I
which
got that.
Yeah.
But that's we're gonna have to
You're
get
lucky I'm
permission.
not. You're not. You're lucky I'm not a hacker. I've already talked to Phil about doing a dance video too from back in the
Oh
day.
yeah, so he might let me give that one.
I got
up, but
parachute pants, but they don't fit no more.
I bet you could still
From
go
back in
though.
the day.
I bet you
With
could
the
still
parachute
go.
pants, I think that makes it possible for the leg to swing up over people's heads.
I still
Right,
need
Phil?
cardboard.
I mean, I can't.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
My leg, if it goes over my head, something horrible's happened.
Call
Something
someone.
horrible.
Call someone.
All right, before I let you go, enough with the caddy stuff, and this one over here getting me crying.
Yeah.
Talking about how
I do.
proud I am about y'all in the foundation and Isaiah, and that's. I will say this before we get to your golf stuff. One of the beauties of what love allows us to do is share. So that's, I think, the beauty of what you guys have done, not just with the foundation, but with us as a family on the PGA Tour. The fact that you guys can share the love, that's huge.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, I thought your playing days were over, Mr. And this is, we don't say negative, don't hit it right, because it's going to go 30 miles left. And then you go out and win this amateur tournament there, pro, what?
Well, first of all, I still get texts. You got your amateur status back?
Because you won.
Well, I didn't. Well, I recently won a mid-am event, the St. Augustine Am, but mid-am. But hold on a second. This whole thing about people wondering how did I get my amateur status back? First of all, Bubba, every time we win, Bubba texts me, "You're still 0 for 17 in cuts made on the PGA Tour." 0 for 17. Okay.
So there's that.
Yeah, there's that. I sent in my amateur reinstatement letter in 2003. I think it was a Wednesday. I got it back the day before on a Tuesday. They had. I think that they were waiting for me, so they reverse dated it a day before I had asked for it and said, "Yeah, you can play amateur golf again."
We see your pro career.
Yeah.
Wait, what's the time date on this stamp?
They had already contacted Supreme Court to see if they could uninvoke my professional rights as a golfer. So, yeah, and I still didn't play golf for about 11 or 12 more years. I had played, 4 or 5 times a year. That was it. But I had lost my game. The joy of the game had gone away from me, and it wasn't until 2013 that I was starting to miss a lot of stuff caddying for Weber. Weber relies very heavily on me. I'm still his swing coach, but I was starting to miss flyers. I was starting to miss thin lies. I was starting to miss sandy into the grain lies, and these are areas that I have to be able to coach my guy on what to do. And I was starting to make mistakes that I'd never made before.
Which now gets frustrating when you caddy.
Exactly. And so what I decided to do, I was like, I think I might need to start playing a little bit again. And it was 2013, and 2 weeks before the tournament in Vegas, I played 3 rounds. And it was weird that I was chipping solid, but every chip was going 8 feet by, which Webb had been doing for over a year. And I couldn't figure out why Webb was doing it. And I realized after 3 rounds why I was doing it. It was because I hadn't been playing. I get these end-of-the-grain lies, and I can always maintain good contact. I put the ball back, handle forward, would kind of cover it, and I would hit great chips that would go 8 feet too far. I'm like, that's what my punk boss is doing. He's got a bad line. He's making sure he makes good contact, so he's putting the handle too far forward. Ball's going too far back. He's hitting it too clean. And we go to Vegas. I said, buddy, I got you figured out. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, I know why you're hitting your chips too hard. I was like, you get these end-of-the-grain lies, and you're going to make sure you don't fat it. So you put it too far back, your handle goes forward. I was like, you have to realize you have to trust your contact. I think he was like 16 for 17 up and downs that week. We won by 6. So
now, did he know that you had played 3?
Oh, I told him, and right away, and he had been asking me to play more golf. He had thought I needed to play because
Okay, I know a lot of y'all right now, just took whatever you were holding close to you and threw it at whatever screen you're watching this in, because you just heard a dude say, my boss just told me I need to play more golf, which makes me, too, want to hit him with this microphone. So I totally understand.
Beautiful brunette over here want to hit me quite often as well, because
When this video's done, her and I holding him down, until he at least stops flailing in the dog's new bowl.
if you want to get even more mad at me, my wife asked me to play golf with her 2 days from now on Friday, too. So if you want to get even more mad at me, she asked me to play golf. I'm like, yeah, a little hottie out there and some cute little pants, I'm in. So anyway.
I will be wearing more than pants. This is not a topless round of golf. It's also 5,000 degrees here. I will not be wearing pants.
Too. That's good, too. But anyway, yes.
All right, pants.
But anyway.
We're all still jealous. Don't lie.
Yeah. All that being said, I started playing in some Florida State Golf Association events in 2016, and very quickly I started also gathering back one word which I think caddies lose quickly. It's empathy. And I mean this. Like, this is a serious conversation. We as caddies lose empathy because you get used to such great golf at such a high level that when your guy steps up to an 8-iron and hits it 35 feet, you're like, what is he doing? He's not trusting it. He's doing something wrong. Yeah, when you go hit 185 or 35 feet, you're like, that was solid, wasn't it? Did you see how flush I hit?
You want to high five your friend.
Exactly. You know, I remember with Weber, you know, he would hit these shots and a wind gust would come up. And the ball would come up short, and he'd be all angry. I'm like, what are you angry about? We can't control the wind. Like, what do you want me to do? But if I could control the wind, I wouldn't be caddying for you. I guarantee you that right now. You know, it's
Standing on a hill somewhere.
Exactly. But this is a true story, and I remember it was 2016, playing at TPC. I was 4 under going into 17, and the pin was front left. It was 135, the most beautiful number you could ever ask for. We were playing a tee up, by the way. Don't get too excited.
Tee it forward.
Yeah, play it forward, and I flushed this wedge, and in the air, I'm like, go in. I said, go in. It went in. About 5 yards short of the green in the water.
Mother Nature went like this. Go in.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I gave it one of these tomahawk quadruple flips.
Not you.
Wedges. Oh, I did. Wedges. As the club disappeared into the watery blue where the ball was. And about 5 seconds later, we get hit by a wind gust. I proceed to hit the 9-iron after the wedge had gone in the water, and a perfect wedge. Well, the wind died down, and it went into the backwater. And I made 7 without missing a golf shot. And I was very quickly reminded, maybe you should remember some of that empathy when that happens to your man, because how it feels. And
hi, my name's Empathy. You want to hang out for a while?
Exactly. And that's it. I remember telling one of my dear friends, Joel Stock, who caddies for Ben Crane, I don't understand how you guys can't caddy when your back hurts. That whole thing doesn't make sense to me. I have bad back all the time, and I've never missed a day at caddy, and you guys need to tough it out. We missed a cut the next day at Tampa. Me and Michelle are on the way back, and I step out of the car to fill up my tank with gas. Zoop! I can't move. I'm sitting on the ground at a gas station. I can't move. My back went out. I could not move. I couldn't pump gas. I had to crawl into the truck. So now, Father, I hear you. I've been very careful now going forward to tell anybody anything. If I just act like I'm empathetic if I'm not empathetic. And so, long story
Or
short,
when Paul says something ignorant, he looks in the back seat to see Empathy sitting there grinning at him.
yes, exactly, with a big smile on their face. So all that being said, I really think caddies should have to play in 2 events a year that mean something, that are published, that people have to see. And I think every player should have to caddy in something every year because it'll make them better. It makes us we forget. We really do, because they're so good that we forget how hard this game is. And by that same standpoint, the players kind of forget sometimes that it's not as easy as just giving you guys a win in a club. We are factoring in what kind of mode are you in right now. Are you angry? Are you not angry? Are you completely calm? Are you not calm? Are you leading the golf tournament? Are you not? Yeah, all of that matters when we're trying to help you guys do what you're trying to do. And obviously, you deserve us to do the best job we can. It's just not easy. And by the same point, guys, we're sorry. Players listening,
There's been plenty of times I've shown you no empathy, and you've deserved it. So I'm sorry, Veej, O'Hare, Jerry, and Weber. I've already apologized to you about it. So all that being said, yeah, it's made me remember. And I love playing tournament golf. And this St. Augustine Amateur I just played in, I shot 1 under the first day. Next day, I'm 4 under going into the 14th hole. I 3-putt it. 15th hole is a short par 4. I'm now going to drive the green because I'm mad. I hit it in the water, make double.
Because you play awesome when you're mad.
Yes, exactly. So I now stand up the 16th hole, which is a dogleg left over water. It's like the 6th hole at Bay Hill. You just got to hit it right. Well, I'm now mad, and I had one of my friends caddying for me. He said, all right, Paulie, we're going to go right at this tree and all that. I'm like, yep.
Which, as a caddy, you also know that your player did not hear a word you just said, and he's got a completely different line in his head.
I had just gone bogey double on, and again, he tells me, I said, yep. So now it's my turn to hit. He comes out there and goes, Paul, we're going to aim at that tree right there. I said, yep. He walked away, and I said, watch this, boys. And I hit a 295-yard big high bomb draw. Give me another ball. This one's a 297-yard big high bomb draw. These are re-tees because there's nowhere else to drop it. And as the next ball is coming in, I'm not aiming for the right. I'm going to hit, and I pushed it a little in play. It's like true story. I make 8. I made a birdie with my next ball and made 8. And I leave the day, and I showed them I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Well, as the hours start progressing and the calmness has started to settle in and the caddy starts to play, you idiot. I just went 5, 6, 8 with good golf shots because I lost my temper. And so here I am, 46, been caddying 19 years, and as a player, I still make the same stupid mistakes. I had a chance the last round, so that was the second round, the last round, to make the same mistake, and I didn't. I was like, okay. I had 3-putted the one same hole. I played smart on the next hole, smart on the next hole. I ended up winning by 1. And would have lost the golf tournament had I fallen into that same behavior. So, again, because we are still boys, we're still dumb, and we still make stupid mistakes, we need to play tournament golf to remember how to help our players. So I know, because what I needed my man to do, he did a great job caddying. He did. I needed him to kind of hit me like that, or
right.
Bud, look at me.
Yeah,
if this ball goes in the water, I'm
right.
punching you.
Yeah.
I needed something to snap me into play because I was dumbfounded what had just happened. And, lo and behold, he's got a hat coming to him, that metal hat coming to him next year, the Ponce de Leon hat coming to him. And I'm going to have to wear it next year in the first round on the first hole because of my mistake that I made. And that's our little deal that we made.
I think you got to wear the Tiger Who hat out. That's what you got to wear out next. Hey, thank you guys.
You got it.
I'm telling you, man.
Am I allowed to tell one more minute story?
Yeah, man. Come on. It's the Caddy Network.
So VJ's wife, the very next day, I'm caddying for Jerry Kelly for the first time on the American side, 2004 in South Africa. And we're playing against VJ Singh. And Adina, VJ's wife, says, you've got to do a VJ Who hat. It'll be hilarious. It'll make everybody. So I went.
That would have been awesome.
I went to the Tiger and said, do you mind? And he goes, I don't care. And I went to VJ. He's like, that's awesome. Well, Jack Nicklaus is the captain. He gets wind of it. So he sends, first of all, Jeff Sluman to tell me not to wear it. I'm like, Jeff, I'm wearing the hat. VJ wants me to wear it. Well, then the big guy comes in. Jack.
Sluman, you could be like, look, I'm wearing the hat.
But then Jack says, Paul, I don't think it's in the tournament's best interest if you wear that hat. I'm like, all right, I won't wear the hat. I was never able to wear the hat, but it was stitched up. Cubby had it stitched up.
Really?
VJ Who nicely. I still got that somewhere, too. I don't know where that one is, but I still got that one somewhere, too. So we were going to make a big joke out of it a lot earlier, but Jack said, Paul. So we didn't do that one.
He's one of I love Jack, too. Yeah. That's so great. Man, you guys are awesome.
Yeah,
thank you for everything. I love you guys, too. Big time. I love you guys. You're awesome. I know.
We'll do the Isaiah thing.
I'm kissing the head. We kissed the head at the same time. So
that would be the first Caddy Network threesome.
Let's leave it at that right now.
Peace.